Hello everybody, welcome to Game Dame's first vidcast. I am Cindy and I will be talking about different video games that I'm currently playing, giving you mini reviews, my thoughts and opinions on them. Today's title is Dragon Age 2, this hot new awesome RPG that just came out from Bioware. I'm sure many of you are aware of the huge controversies right now and the debates on how it has been received. There will be two parts to my Dragon Age review. This part will be mostly spoiler-free and about the gameplay mechanics and just overall first impressions and reactions to the game. The second part will be more specific and it will be about the story and it will be full of spoilers and fun stuff. So if you've played the game entirely and you don't mind being spoiled, stay tuned for the next part. So I'll just dive right into it. My first impressions of the game was surprise. And I had a really good time, which I wasn't sure if I would, because I'm a fan of Origins, and the allure of Dragon Age Origins was that it was a throwback to older style RPGs, the classic Baldur's Gate and those type of titles. And it was tactical combat and you know, the use of potions and all that, and which is also part of the tactics. You know, some people didn't really like that because they're not really used to that. You know, I've played Japanese RPGs a long time, you know, Final Fantasies and Star Ocean, and a lot of those type of titles. And I am familiar with some pen and paper games as well. So it, you know, to me, it was like heaven. I absolutely love Dragon Age Origins. I don't love it as much as Mass Effect 2, but it's pretty close. And I really enjoyed that Dragon Age was different than Mass Effect. And that's, I think, is an issue in itself. Because in Dragon Age 2, they decided that they were going to discontinue their retro, you know, role-playing game that they were doing with Dragon Age Origins and kind of move forward with the more Mass Effect streamlined RPG elements. And you know, the character progression is a lot simpler now. Basically all of the extra spells or whatever that people didn't end up using very much were taken out. The trees, the specialization trees, I'm sorry if I don't say that right, are a lot simpler. They're a lot shorter. Just like Mass Effect 2, you know, all your abilities and all that, there's only so much that you can do, which in my opinion isn't a bad thing. I mean, as long as I can kill stuff, I'm happy. But I can understand the frustration of people who like more elaborate character progression. And that was one of the changes. The other changes was in customization was armor. You can't give armor to your companions anymore, and that was a huge deal for some people. Personally, I didn't really mind because I kind of like that each companion has their own unique style, and I kind of like just putting runes into their armor. Basically, how it works is you find different pieces of their armor, different upgrades. And the more upgrades you have, they have more rune slots, I believe, depending on the character. And you know, that's how you upgrade their armor. There's no physical change to the armor, however. The only change that happens is if you romance some of the characters, and at one point their outfit changes color or detail is added, and that's about it. Personally, I would have preferred if they'd had a few different alternate outfits, especially for Miss Isabella over there, who really needs to cover up, in my opinion. And, you know, not because I have anything against sexy ladies, on the contrary, more power to them. However, I didn't enjoy that over all these years she never changed clothes. I mean, who does that? Hawk certainly does change to her clothes or his clothes. And, you know, so anyway, I kind of found that to be a little funny, and I expected her to change clothes because that was one of the things they said would happen, but it didn't in most cases. So anyway, that was a little bit disappointing. The other point I want to make about the armors was that even though in Dragon Age Origins you could give armors to your companion and dress him up however you wanted, the choices of armor was really, really slim. I mean, they only had, 4 different types of armor, 4 or 5, whatever, and they all were exactly the same except for different colors. Basically, it was really limited in what you could do, and the companions looked nothing like in the trailers. The companion armor looked nothing like they were in the trailers, and the CGI cinematics and all that. Thankfully, there's modders out there who actually made the Sacred Ashes armor and all that for all the companion characters, which was freaking wonderful. But so that's one issue. Again, there is good and bad about massive changes. The I think the bad thing in this situation was that it was done within the same series, a series that when it first launched with Origins, it was supposed to be one thing, and then they decided to go somewhere else, with the whole more modern take on role-playing games, which some people, find it's dumbing down or whatever. I don't really have an opinion on that personally, but I think in the grand scheme of things, I think it would have been better if they'd stayed closer to their retro vision of what Dragon Age Origins was, and they could have made a few tweaks and a few changes, made the combat faster and stuff, but kept the same look maybe, or maybe changed the look a little bit, but kept the same in-depth character development or something like that. I think they really went a bit too far, and people, the fans who've loved Origins, kind of feel out of their element. They're out of water, and I think that's what a lot of the controversy maybe comes from, in my opinion. The other thing is DLC issues and the marketing issues. I was not really impressed with the whole signature thing, peer pressuring people into, or whatever, sell pressure people into, getting it right away so you could get the extra goodies. Really was not a good idea. I would have much preferred they'd had a collector's edition, just like any other game they've had, or Dragon Age Origins. I don't mind doing that, paying a few extra bucks just because it's like the gold or special edition. However, giving you only a certain time frame, even if it is as long as 4 months, that early on, before you give any information on the game, before there's any interviews, before there's barely anything on the official website, is not cool. It just isn't, because people may or may not, especially when you announce that there's going to be such harsh changes to the game. I don't know, that was really off-putting to me. I did end up pre-ordering the game. I think it was 2 weeks after the cutoff of the signature game, so it's kind of, maybe that's why I'm not impressed with it. However, that's when most of the information came out, and I started to get excited about it. So I felt as a fan, I kind of felt like I was being let down a bit by Bioware or EA or whatever's in charge of that stuff. So I don't blame the developers themselves, because from what I could tell of some of the interviews I've seen, they don't know what's going on with the marketing, so I can't blame them for that. I think I'm pretty much done. Everything else, the side quests. Yes, let's talk about the quests. Basically, that has to do with the story, but which we'll get into shortly here. But basically, a lot of people didn't like how the quests were going. In Origins, you follow a main plot line pretty much the whole way. Everything is about the struggle to get everybody together to fight the Blight, and that's what it is. The side quests are little tiny quests that you find on the Chanter's board, or that you get from the Blackguard. No, somebody irregulars, and the mage, the apostate mages and all that, if you choose to help them. There's different hidden quests as well, puzzles and things that you can do. But those are really, really little side things that you can completely ignore, that have nothing to do with the story. In Mass Effect 2, the story are the side quests, basically. You don't have to do all the side quests, but that's basically who you are. You know what? It reminded me of an MMO. maybe that's why it didn't bother me so much, because that's, I mean, as an MMO player, that's what you do. You're an adventurer, you pick up all these little quests, and the main thing that you do, the main story, is really just something that you do once in a while in an MMO, and that's kind of what it felt like in Dragon Age 2. It's the main story was really just something that eventually happened at the end of all your tiny little quests that you did. So I think for people who are into the more story-driven, you know, cinematic experience, they were really off-put by all the fetch quests and all that, and FedEx quest, I guess. But to me, it felt like it belonged there, because I mean that's who Hawk was. She or he was just she for me. She was just sort of a, you know, a freelance adventurer, so to speak, and she just, you know, gave her sword or staff to whoever needed help. So I didn't find a problem with it, but I can understand why it would be a problem for others. So I guess that way it was disappointing. It is really, really a different experience than Origins, that is for sure. And I think that's why it's so polarizing. Again, I'm not sure it was such a good idea for Bioware to go to such extremes and change. I haven't talked about the combat and how, you know, some people, oh, it's Mickey Mouse combat, it's God of War combat. It's actually the exact same as Dragon Age Origins. It's just that, again, it's been simplified in some terms, with, you know, which ties in with the character development specialization, and you know, there's not as many abilities, and the combat is much faster. Animations were changed a little. The gore, there was criticism about the gore, which I'm not agreeing with. I don't think there's more gore. I think it's about the same as was Origins. Origins was almost, it was very theatrical. I mean, the blood splashed all over your character. It was kind of silly, really, let's face it. You can toggle that off. Same with Dragon Age 2. I mean, there's a lot of gore and blood, and yes, people in Darkspawn never explode, and there's limbs everywhere. Well, I don't know if you noticed, but in Dragon Age Origins, you could behead people and the head would roll on the floor. You know, it's not much better. It's, to me, it's pretty comparable. So I didn't find that there's more gore, and, you know, it's maybe it's a bit more theatrical with a bit more flair. That's what I found the difference was in that. So it's whatever is to your preferences, I guess. So I believe I'm going to stop here for that. Episode 2, or part 2, I'll be talking a lot more about the story. So stay tuned for that. So yeah.